there, guys? Skeleton. Yeah, to develop this stubborn skeleton logic, either we need distributed technologies or what? Distributed frameworks. What are the distributed technologies available in the market? RMI, EasyAB, web services. RMI outdated because it's a language dependent, right? EasyAB is outdated because again it is a language dependent. Okay, but EasyAB is better than RMI because middleware services are there. Nothing but readily available services are there, especially security and transaction management. But it's outdated because it's a heavyweight and it's a language dependent. What do you mean by language dependent? Language and consumer application and provider application must be there in same language or not? Okay, addressing all these problems, we have got what? Web services. Web services allows us to develop distributed application by having a principle called what? Interoperability. Also called DACA, whatever it is. Okay. Right. Develop anywhere, consume anywhere. So that means the producer and consumer application can be there in same language or same technology or same framework, or can be there in what? Different languages, technologies, or what frame. This makes super successful or not there. Why web service is a proven environment to develop the distributed application? Two reasons. Number one, they are extension of web application. If you know how to develop the web application properly, with that knowledge, you can start developing distributed application. Number two, web service based distributed applications are what? Interoperable application. What do you mean by interoperable? Develop the distributed application in any language or technology or framework, and it can be consumed in what? Same language or different language, or same technology or different technology, same framework or what? Different framework. That's the basic advantage we are having or not there. Okay, web service is the mechanism that deals with what? Application to application interaction. Total, how many web service models of web service implementation is there? Two models. One is SOAP-based web service, other one is what? RESTful web service. Tell me, in SOAP-based web service, the media for data exchange is what, guys? Media for data exchange, only XML. That too, simple XML or complex schema-based XML? Complex schema-based XML. It does not allow what? Simple XML. So because of that, the things looks very complex or not there? The things looks very, very complex or not there, guys? So in a RESTful web service, we can exchange the data either by using XML or by using what? JSON. And that too, XML is also not schema based, but simple one, right? Okay. See how this XML or JSON will travel in web service environment along with the request body, along with the response body. Yes, my dear. In SOAP-based web services, request will contain SOAP messages as request body or not there. Come on. And SOAP-based web services will be having response body as what? XML content or not there. Super. In RESTful, the request body and response body can be either XML or what? JSON. Right? So yesterday we discussed about SOAP-based web services. Shall we start understanding what? RESTful web services today, guys? Already opened. File open. What's the document we have got? 1103 Spring Boot REST session 2. We already discussed about SOAP based. Yeah, all these things we discussed yesterday are not there. Yeah, to implement SOAP-based web services, what are the technologies we have? JAX AWS is the technology. to develop SOAP based. And what are the frameworks we have? Apache Axis, Apache CFX. Yes, my dear. Yeah, tell me, what are the limitations of SOAP based web services, my dear? These are based on SOA architecture. SOA means service oriented architecture, where separate registry is required to register each web service or not there. Then only consumer can contact the registry to get the details about the web service that has been registered or not there. The service registries in SOA are very heavy to maintain, guys. These UDD registries are heavy to maintain. That's another headache we got. SOAP-based messages in HTTP request and HTTP response are complex to build and heavy to send over the network. Why? Because SOAP-based messages are not just XML, guys. They are schema-based XML. Schema-based XML is always complex to handle or not there. Understanding web service by reading WSDL document is not an easy process. And when you write direct English only, we don't understand. Reading XML file, that is WSDL file, understanding what? Entire web service is that much easier, difficult process. Definitely it's a difficult process, no doubt in that. SOAP messages use what? Complex schema. So building what? SOAP message is what? Very costly. I already said, na, we write 2-3 lines of data only, but so much decoration will be there or not. So building SOAP message is very complex and heavyweight are not there. Next, does not give flexibility to send data in what? Different global formats. Should always use what? The heavy SOAP message as what? XML. The heavy SOAP message as what, guys? XML. The heavy SOAP message as what? XML message. Allows only XML as global data format to exchange the data between what? Application. So you don't have option to work with what? JSON. It allows only XML. XML is becoming outdated day to day as what? Global data format are not there. The communication between consumer and producer is what? Unidirectional. That means what? One-way communication is possible. That means the other way is not possible. Consumer can invoke only service of what? Producer. So do you think service is also one distributed application? Do you think consumer can invoke the services, guys? Consumer is also one SOAP-based web service. Do you think producer can invoke the services? No. Why? Because in between registry is there. Whoever expose, they only can expose, right? It's a bidirectional communication is not possible. Two-way communication is what? Not possible. To overcome all these problems, we have to think about using what? We have to seriously think about working with what, guys? RESTful web services are not there. We definitely need to think about dealing with what services, guys? What services, my dear? RESTful web services. Are you getting my point? Yeah, tell me. REST is not a protocol. REST is the mechanism or architecture representing the state of the web component in HTTP request and response. That's why it is called as what? RESTful. REST means representational state transfer. It's a mechanism, guys. A representational state transfer. State means data. Okay, that's the data will be traveled along with the request and response. Okay, in a simple format, no schemas, no namespaces, nothing will be involved. And this data can be sent either in XML format or in what? JSON format. This data can be sent either in what? XML format or what? JSON format. Are you getting my point there or not there? XML, what is there? Extensible markup language. Okay, now tell me. REST is not a protocol like SOAP. REST is a mechanism to exchange the data between two applications along with the request and what? Response. So that's why it is called what? RESTful. Allows to send the data in both what? Global format, XML and what? JSON. Directly as HTTP request body, also as response body. No protocol is involved while sending the data. While sending the data, no protocol means no schema is involved. No protocol means what? No schema is involved. Convince it with me, guys. Yeah. To convert XML tags data to Java object, marshalling, unmarshalling, and reverse marshalling, we use JAXB API or not there. In JSON, JavaScript object notation, nothing but objects in what? JavaScript. The process of converting object data to JSON data to what? Object is called serialization and deserialization. This serialization, deserialization is no way related to what? IO streams related serialization and deserialization. Getting my point? We have IO streams numbers. There also serialization and deserialization is there. That is what, right? Converting object data into bits and bytes and creating object from bits and bytes. That is called serialization and deserialization. Here serialization means what? Converting object data into JSON, serialization. Creating what? Object from what? JSON is called what? Deserialization. Everyone convinced with me or not there? JavaScript object notation, nothing but object in what? JavaScript. Okay, let's see. Java object represent string name is equal to Raja into AS30. In JavaScript, we can declare the variable by using var let name Raja, var let AS30. Here no data type. Based on the value we have assigned, the data type is actually decided or not there. Based on the value we have assigned, the data type is actually decided or not there, guys. This is my customer object. Where let customer open floor bracket and closing floor bracket, property names and values, keys. These are the keys, these are the values. Taken or not there? JSON content is key value pair content, guys. Tell me, document open, closing. All property names are keys, values are values. JSON document means object in what? JavaScript. Okay, now listen. Flower bracket open closing is used to represent the document. Square bracket open closing is used to represent the array content. What content, guys? Array content. To convert JSON content into Java object and also for what? Reverse operation. We use what? JSON APIs. What APIs? Yeah, this is my object. This is my what? This is my object. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on. This is my object. Okay, here JSON B, GJSON API, like this multiple things we are using are not there. And we all of them using converting what? Object to JSON, JSON to what? Object. Again, this entire paragraph is talking about what you know. This entire paragraph is talking about, okay, IO stream serialization and deserialization is no way related to what? JSON related serialization and deserialization. IO stream serialization is all about converting object data into bits and bytes are not there. JSON deserialization is all about, come on, converting JSON content into object. Here, IO stream deserialization is all about collecting bits and bytes, converting into object are not there. RESTful web service is all about two operations. What is there, guys? RESTful web service is all about what? To operate. Listen, we'll take a controller business class having business method. Every business method will have a request path. And that business method is technically called endpoint. What is there? And every endpoint is identified with what? URL, mode, request mode, get post kind of thing, parameters, and path. A RESTful controller is extension of MVC controller class. In MVC controller class, each method is called handler method. In REST controller class, each method is called endpoint. Every endpoint is identified with base URL. Next one, request path. Then what? Request mode. Then parameters. What this, guys? Parameter. Are you comfortable, my dear, or not there? Getting my point there or not there? Okay. RESTful web service is all about two identifying every service or method operation of provider application with its URL. And consumer uses those URL to consume the services of the provider application. No service registry is required. Every business method, REST operation and endpoint of RESTful service or API is identified with four details. Number one, URL. Number two, request path. URL means common base URL. Request path means method level request path. Request mode, get, post, all this stuff. Then what? Parameter. If any inputs are required, how to pass those parameters. We deal with parameters or not there. No SOAP protocol is involved because the consumer and provider sends what and receives data as what? XML/JSON data without applying any protocol. Is it going to apply protocol or no protocols? Yeah. So no protocol is involved. Why? Because request body contain simple XML content or what? JSON content. So the data exchange can happen either with what? A JSON format or XML format without involving any sort of protocol. Without involving what? Any sort of protocol. I hope you convinced with me, my dear. Got the clarity or not there? Super, guys. RESTful web service is also having controller class. Controller class is having what? Business method. Every business method is called endpoint. Every endpoint is identified with how many details? Four details. Base URL, request path, request mode, and parameter. By collecting these details, consumer application directly communicate with what? Provider application endpoint or not there? Is there any need of service registry, guys? Okay, then SOAP-based web services architecture is what? SOA, where registry is involved, right? Provider, consumer, registry is involved. Okay, what is next one? RESTful web service architecture is client server architecture, no registry is involved. Consumer, producer. Just client server architecture, no registry is involved. Are you comfortable, my dear? Come on, everyone. Got the clarity or not there, guys? Yeah. JSON is lightweight compared to what? XML to represent the data and also to what? Describe the data. Look at it. XML, guys, I want to write 101 Raja 90.77 as what? Bill amount. Some bill amount. Dollars, let us see. Customer open closing. Customers opening closing. CNO open closing. CNAME open closing. Bill amount open closing. Did you notice that? Compared to data, decoration is more or not? Say something, my dear. Compared to data, definitely decoration is more or not there? Compared to data, definitely decoration is more. No second thought in that, right? Okay, now look at the JSON. Document open closing, keys, values. Comma separated, keys, value. Key value pairs are not there. Here data and decoration is equally balanced or not there. Here more priority to decoration, less priority to data, right? Here compared to data, structure is more, like closing tag for every opening tag is bit extra. Here data and structure both are what? In good combination. Both are in what? Good combination. Gives structured data having relationship among the data members in bit heavy environment, right? Gives structured data having relation among the data members in what? lightweight environment. Are you getting my point there? A RESTful web service is not based on what? SOA architecture. It's based on what? Consumer producer architecture with what? Front controller support. That means no service registry is required. What is required? No service registry is required. Are you getting my point there or not there? No service registry is required. Are you comfortable, my dear? Come on. Yes. SOAP based, SOAP web service architecture is what? SOA. Service oriented architecture. Are you getting my point? It is like students getting what? Training from trainer by accessing trainer details from institute. Already yesterday I have compared now, boss. RESTful web service is what? Consumer producer application. It is like student and trainer are in what? Direct communication or not there. They're both are there in what? Direct communication. SOAP based web services, 3 component, right? I registered my service with the institute, student contact institute, from institute getting the details of the course. Using that one is talking to faculty. There's no direct communication between what? Student and faculty. But RESTful web service is what? No registry involved, right? So there's a direct communication between student and faculty or not there? How, sir? A student, faculty prepares all his course details as an endpoint, having some URL. Those URLs are exposed to what? Student. Student will take those URL. Using them, communication with what? Endpoints will happen directly or not there? Will happen directly or not there, guys? Come on, everyone. Final conclusion is no registries. That's advantage number 1 in SOAP based web services. Advantage number 2. Okay. Allows to pass data either in XML or in what? JSON. Advantage number 3. While passing this XML or JSON data, no need of involving any protocol. No need of involving any schema rules. That's another advantage we are having or not there. Okay, have a look on this. The provider application in RESTful web service is what? MVC controller or advanced controller class having business method mapped with request path. The consumer application invoke the business methods of producer application by sending HTTP request based on what? Request URL and request path of business method. This business method can be called as what? REST operation or what? Endpoint. This business method can be called as what? REST operation or what? Endpoint. Are you getting my point there or not there? Yeah, let's have a look. Search operation controller. This entire thing is called one distributed provider application. A RESTful web service distributed. Okay, to tell that it is not an MVC controller, it's a REST controller. What's the annotation I should use? And I am giving global path, right? Method 1, method 2. If method 1 is mapped with report 1, method 2 is mapped with what? A report. These two are called endpoints or not there? Come on, guys. These two are called endpoints or not there? Yeah, tell me. If you want to invoke each endpoint, first you have to go base URL, method level request path, request mode, get or post. If any parameters are there, you have to understand those parameters are not there. If any parameters are there, all these details pass it to whom? Consumer application. Consumer application uses them, start communicating with this one or not there, guys. Okay, now at the rate REST controller is equal to at the rate controller plus what body? Response body. What body, guys? At the rate controller plus response body. Sir, what's the difference between regular controller and REST controller? REST controller is internally having what, guys? Response. What's the advantage this response body? Okay, now listen, carefully observe. Because of this response body, the output generated by this endpoint method directly goes to consumer application through dispatcher servlet without involving any view resolver and view component. What component? Without involving any view resolver and view component. Convinced, my dear? Yeah. Whenever you apply REST controller, internally controller plus response body. What's the advantage of this response body, guys? What's the basic advantage of this response body, guys? It makes all the endpoint sending their respective output to consumer application through dispatcher servlet without involving view resolver and view component. Check it out. This annotation makes a requested method of REST controller class to send the response directly to consumer application as HTTP response without taking the support of what? View resolver and view component. What component, guys? View resolver and view component. Okay, now focus, guys. SOAP-based web services, 3-component rule, SOA architecture, registry is required. Next one. SOAP-based web service. Next one, guys. RESTful web service is what? Client server architecture. That's it. What architecture? Client server architecture. No SOA is involved, guys. Right. Consumer producer architecture with front controller server. That means no service registry is involved or not. Look at this RESTful client application, RESTful provider application. Direct communication is happening or not there? Did I involve any service registry over here, guys? Did I involve any service registry over here, guys? I have not involved any service registry here. Are you getting my point there, guys? I have not involved any service registry over here. Are you getting my point there or not there? I hope everyone convinced with me or not there, guys. One is service consumer, other one is what? Service producer. Along with the HTTP request, inputs will go as what? JSON or XML. Along with HTTP response, output will come in the form of what? JSON or what? XML. Are you getting my point there, guys? Yeah. In RESTful web service, we prefer JSON data a lot compared to what? XML. When JSON is there, we don't prefer. The service producer RESTful component can be developed in what? Any language like Java, .NET, PHP, Python. The service consumer, nothing but client, can be developed in what? Java, .NET, PHP, Python. Also can be taken as what? Any application. Client can be what? Class, desktop application, mobile application, web application, IoT application. It can be there in any format or not there, guys. Look at this. Okay, a RESTful web service is also called REST API. See, RESTful web service is nothing but distributed application, also called API, also nothing but REST controller. All are one and the same. RESTful web service means provider application of distributed application or REST API or REST controller. That REST controller may talk with the service and DA. In RESTful web service, provider application is controller class, which is identified with its base URL or not there. Business methods inside the controller class are identified with their request paths or not there. And these are simply linked with what, guys? Service class method. These are literally simply linked with what, guys? Service class method. The consumer application use what? Provider application or component URL of business method paths in order to invoke the business method of the provider application are not there. And a consumer wants to invoke the endpoints of what? Provider application. Endpoint related global URL, I mean it's a base URL, request path, request mode, parameter. Like these multiple things will be collected and they are used by consumer application to make invocation taking place or not there. To simply make the invocation taking place or not there, guys. Come on, my dear. I want reply, my dear. Come on. Every REST controller class is called RESTful Web Service or REST API or REST provider application. The methods in REST controller class that are mapped with what? Request paths are called REST operations or what? Endpoints are what? Business method. Array, listen. Forget about all the things. Simple conclusion. RESTful web service means consumer producer direct communication, no services. But how consumer will invoke, guys? For every business method of REST controller, REST API, endpoint is called endpoint. Every endpoint is identified with the base URL, request path, request mode, parameter. All these things will be passed to consumer, and consumer uses those details to invoke the endpoint or not there. In this process, the data exchange between consumer and provider application takes place either in the form of XML or JSON or not there. Either in the form of XML or JSON or not there. Everyone getting my point there or not there, guys? Okay. Yeah, here is what? Client application. Here is what? Server application. Everyone getting my point? Client and server. Provide consumer application, provider application. Check it out. Communication HTTP request with XML or JSON data. HTTP response with XML or JSON data. Okay, look at the protocol HTTP structure, guys. Okay, first head part, body part separated with blank line. Okay, in the body part you observe XML or JSON data is possible or not there. In the response also, head part and body part separated with the blank line. Here also, what is there, guys? XML and JSON is there or not there, guys? So REST API, REST API. What do you mean by REST API? Array, provider application of what? RESTful web service. The provider application of RESTful web service is called as what? REST API. Okay. I already explained REST controller discussion and the above. Above already discussed this point or not? Yeah. In RESTful web service, what service, guys? In RESTful web service. In RESTful web services, REST API is nothing but provider application. Provider application, nothing but distributed application, nothing but tell me, at the rate REST controller. REST API is equal to provider application is equal to distributed application is equal to what? REST controller. Am I right, my dear? Come on, everyone. In RESTful web services, REST API is equal to provider application is equal to distributed application is equal to lastly REST controller are not there. Lastly, it is going to be REST controller or not there. Super. Yes. Okay, now I am giving sample, guys. HTTP request with what? JSON body. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. This is request structure, guys. Head portion, body portion. Separated with the blank line. In head portion, initial line is there. Request mode, URL, protocol version. These are request headers are not there. Blank line is there. How inputs are going? Check it out. As a JSON document, inputs are going or not there. Right now, I'm showing JSON, guys. In RESTful web service, it can be what? XML also. It can be in the form of XML or not there. Definitely, it can be in the form of XML or not there, guys. Okay. Have a look. Look at HTTP response with what? JSON body. HTTP response with what? JSON body. Are you getting my point there, guys? Yeah, this is head portion. This is blank line. This is body portion. What is that portion, guys? Body portion. This is what? Head. This is the head portion. This is blank line. This is my what? Body portion. Are you comfortable, my dear, or not there? Yeah, check it out. That body also is coming in the form of JSON only, na boss. So that means in RESTful web service, the inputs will go along with the request either as XML or JSON. The JSON looks like this or not there. That JSON looks like this or not there. And outputs will go in the form of what? Body. And even that JSON looks like this or not there. I want reply from you people, guys. Okay, final conclusion is what, guys? In SOAP-based web services, provider application is developed, kept in service registry. Consumer will contact service registry, get the WSDL document. Based on that, they develop what? Consumer code, right? Okay, but in RESTful web service, okay, it's like a website, web application. Whatever provider application is developed is having endpoint. Every endpoint is identified with what? Base URL plus request path plus parameters and request mode. Through documentation or some other channel, they will be exposed to client consumer. Consumer uses them and they directly communicate with what? Endpoints methods of provider application are not there. Endpoints methods of the provider application are not there, guys. Is it not interesting, my dear? Come on, everyone. Got the clarity or not there, guys? The service provider in REST application is called Java class, and it cannot take what? HTTP request direct. No, listen. Consumer producer to application. Producer application is having endpoints. Consumer wants to invoke it. But how this invocation is happening? Through request. Through what? HTTP request. Okay, now first of all, tell me, whatever producer application I am saying, that is a REST controller Java class, na boss? Do you think Java class or REST controller Java class can take HTTP request directly? Can you? A normal Java class can take HTTP request directly? No. So that means in front of REST controller class, there should be one front controller servlet or not there. So that what happened? Whatever request I am giving to what? Various endpoints of REST controller. Come on. Can be trapped by front controller servlet, nothing but dispatcher servlet. From there, it will delegate to whom, guys? From there, it will delegate the request to whom, guys? I want reply, my dear. From there, it will try to delegate the request to where, guys? Handler methods. From there, it will try to delegate the request to whom, guys? Is it right or not there, guys? Understood my statement, boss? From there, it will try to delegate the request to whom, guys? Simply to handler method. Is that clear, guys? Got the point, my dear? Come on. Okay, once again. So final conclusion is what? RESTful web service architecture is client consumer producer architecture only. No registry involved. But the problem is the class that we are developing as a REST controller having endpoint. Is it a servlet or normal Java class? Do you think normal Java class can take HTTP request? No. So what is required? In front of REST controller class, there should be one extra what? There must be an extra what? Front controller servlet like dispatcher servlet. What's the advantage of it? Any consumer application generated any request will be again first trapped by whom? Dispatcher servlet, and that will delegate to REST controller class or not there. So that's the reason people says RESTful web service architecture is con- uh, consumer producer architecture with what? Front controller. Consumer producer architecture with what? Front controller support. With what support, guys? I hope everyone convinced with me, my dear. Got the clarity, guys? The service provider in RESTful application is Java class, and it cannot take what? HTTP request directly. So we put one front controller servlet like what? Dispatcher servlet, action servlet, and what? Etc. The special servlet that acts as what? Entry and exit point for all requests and responses is called as what? Is called as what? Definitely called as front controller servlet. Are you getting my point? Yeah, this is my consumer application. This is my producer application. Come on. But in between, what is there? Front control. Consumer has generated what? HTTP request. Who trapped and taken? Because it is designed for that, right? It is delegating to appropriate endpoint method of REST controller or not. Okay, whatever output generated directly or by communicating with what? Service or DAO classes. Okay, it will pass them to what? Front controller, and front controller directly passes to what? Consumer application in the form of HTTP response. Here no involvement of view resolver and view component is there or not there. Is there any involvement of view resolver and view component here, guys? There is no involvement of what? View resolver and view component. Convinced, my dear? Tell me, guys, more or less it is looking like what? MVC architecture based web application development or not? More or less it is looking very much similar to MVC architecture based web application development. I hope you realized that by this time. Only the difference is, only the difference is, consumer is not browser, any application. Here consumer is in web application, consumer is browser. There it can generate only HTTP request and response. I mean, say get and post mode request. Here any mode request can be generated. Are you getting my point there? Okay. In normal application, view resolver and view components are involved to process request and generate the application. But here, directly output goes to browser as HTTP response. No involvement of view resolver and view component. Convinced or not, guys? In Spring Boot application, this front controller is called dispatcher servlet. RESTful web service provider application is called API. RESTful web service business methods are called API endpoints. API endpoints. Okay. In Java, JAX RS is the technology to develop what? RESTful web service. Spring REST, REST Easy, Jersey, RESTless, and etc. are what? Framework to support RESTful web service implementation are not there. To simply literally support what? RESTful web service implementation. We take the support of what? This technology are not there, guys. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Come on, everyone. Got the clarity, my dear? Come on, everyone. Yeah, now I'm giving summary on what? Web services. Before that, API development, REST API development, RESTful web service, provider application development. Okay. Distributed application development using REST web services, all are one and the same. Develop API in web service API means provider application development. Nothing but distributed application. I hope you convinced it with me, guys. Summary on web services. Okay, before going to summary, developing service provider in web service is also called as what? Developing API. API development web service is nothing but service provider or producer application development are not there. Gathering and providing info that are required to develop what? Service consumer for invoking services of what? Specific service provider is nothing but providing endpoint details to consumer application are not there. Providing all the details of API to consumer application, nothing but what? API endpoints to providing what? API endpoints to consumer application. These details are like what, guys? URLs, request path, request modes, and etc. Look at the example, guys. Weather report is my API, nothing but web service provider application or service provider application, nothing but one REST controller class are not there. Okay, in that one, each method is called as what? One endpoint. First method mapped with what? /w report /temp get and city. Okay, it allows get mode request. This is the request path and these are the parameters. Come on, guys. All the details together, we call it as what? Endpoint details are not. Tell me endpoint details of the first method. /w report temp, that is a request path and base URL also will be there. Then mode of the request get. What is the parameter? City. Okay, next one. Get expected temperature. What is there? Get expected temperature. This is what? Request path. Mode of the request. How many parameters, guys? Two parameters. Why two parameter? Expected means what? After 3 days, what is temperature? After 4 days, what is temperature? That's a two parameters it is taking are not there. And these two details that we are giving to consumer application are called API endpoint details are not there. What details, guys? API endpoint details. Are you comfortable, my dear? Come on. Every API endpoint is identified with its what? Request URL, request mode, and what parameter. API development means web service provider application developed either in what? SOAP or RESTful web service. API consumer means web service consumer application development either in what? SOAP or what? Web service. SOAP or what? RESTful, guys. SOAP or what? RESTful. Are you getting my point there, guys? Yeah, final conclusion is what? First of all, tell me. RESTful web service architecture is what? RESTful web service architecture is what? Client server architecture. Just client server architecture, client server architecture with the front controller. Why front controller is required here? The provider application, what we are developing in RESTful web service is a Java class having annotation REST controller. That is a normal Java class. Can it take directly HTTP request? So that's why we need extra front controller support in front of REST controller to stand in front, to trap all the requests and to pass them to what? Appropriate endpoint methods of REST controller. Appropriate endpoint methods of what? REST controller. Convinced, my dear? Got the clarity, my dear? I want reply, my dear. Come on. Yeah. What's the next one? What's the next one to focus, guys? There's nothing to discuss. Yeah. Yeah. In this communication, how data exchange will happen? Global format. What are those global format? XML, JSON. This XML, JSON that are there in RESTful web service will go with schema na without schema na. That's a lightweight or not there. Come on, guys. Definitely lightweight or not. But though it is allows both, what we prefer, XML or JSON? because it's a lightweight. Yes or no, na guys? Any service registry is required in RESTful web service. Then how consumer will consume the endpoints of REST controller? Yeah, all the details of endpoints, base URL, request path, mode, parameter should be exposed and passed to whom, guys? Consumer application. Should be exposed and passed to whom, guys? Consumer application. Are you getting my point there or not? Summary on what? Web services. Tell me how many categories are there to go for? SOAP based and RESTful. These are designing models or not? One is SOA, old and legacy. Consumer producer with front controller. Modern, relatively new. What are the programming APIs we have to develop these web services? SOAP based means JAX templates. RESTful means what? JAX. What are the frameworks we have to develop these things, guys? Apache Access, Apache CFX. Here what? Spring REST, REST Easy, RESTless Jersey. Next one. What is the protocol that is involved, guys? SOAP over HTTP. Here what? HTTP with JSON or XML are not there. Super. Next one, guys. Architecture given based on what? SOA. Service oriented architecture. Given based on what? Client server or consumer producer architecture. Are you getting my point there or not there? Yeah. What are the global formats, guys? XML as global data format. XML JSON as what? Global data format. Okay, next one. Any registry is required, guys? Huh? Okay. In SOA it required. In SOAP based it is not required. Are you getting my point there or not? SOAP based required. In RESTful not required. Yeah. Now listen. Again, the API terminology is also having some confusion, guys. Technology framework language API means packages. Web service API means distributed application, provider application. Don't confuse. What API you are talking, that matters. Technology API, framework API, or language API means I want reply, my dear, specific to one setup, right? The language technology framework API that comes in the form of what? jar file having packages with what? Classes, interfaces, enum, annotations acting as base to develop software application is called what? Library API. This is nowhere related to web services. JDBC API, Servlet API are what? Technology APIs. Provider application in web services are called what? Web service APIs. Both the APIs are nowhere related to what? Each other. JDBC APIs, Servlet API, etc. are called programming APIs. So, our RESTful web service based provider application is called what? Web service API. Are you getting my point there, guys? Yeah, final conclusion is programming APIs are what is there? Language API mean APIs given by languages, technologies, framework. Web service API means what? Provider application developed in web services. Maybe SOAP based, maybe RESTful. Got it, guys? Don't confuse. API means context to context, its meaning will change. Context to context, its meaning is changing or not there. Okay. In software domain, certain terminology changes its meaning context to context. JSON serialization is different from IOSIM serialization, na boss? In JSON, serialization means what, guys? Converting Java object data to what? JSON. Converting Java object data to JSON. Okay. In IOStream serialization means what? Writing or converting object data to bits and bytes so that it can be written to file, it can be sent over the network. Similarly, JSON deserialization is different from IO streams deserialization or not there. JSON deserialization is all about converting JSON content to object. In IO stream, deserialization is nothing but what, guys? Okay, converting bits and bytes data into objects. Simply converting bits and bytes data into objects are not there. That's good. Okay, web service API is nothing but developing provider application as what? Distributed application, having services to consume. Whereas language or technology API is nothing but library acting as base for developing software applications are not there. Base for developing software applications are not there, guys. Okay, guys. Right. Now, I'll try to give differences between SOAP-based web services and what? RESTful web services. Okay. Instead of wasting time, I'll try to take the support of ChatGPT to get it. Because you'll get a nice tabular format or not. Reverse. I don't think so. Check it out. Where UDDA registry is required. No UDDA registry is required. This one, JSON deserialization about converting Java object data. Reverse. Okay, 1 minute, 1 minute. Serialization. Object to JSON, serialization. JSON to object, deserialization. Check it out. Serialization, all converting. Reverse na boss. JSON to Java. Here what? Java object to JSON. Right. I understood. I understood. Cut this. Cut this. Yeah. JSON serialization is all about, right? Converting Java object data to JSON. Whereas IO stream serialization is all about, here rightly there. Serialization all about creating bits and bytes from the object. Creating, what is this? Creating bits and bytes from the object. Creating bits and bytes from the object. No, right, reverse. No, yeah. Serialization I'm talking, no? Yeah, right. Bits and bytes from the object. It's converting object into bits and bytes, na boss. Creating bits and bytes from the object. Yeah, tell me. Bits and bytes. Yeah, tell me next one. JSON deserialization all about. JSON, what is there? Deserialization. all about converting what? JSON doc into what? Java object. Whereas IO streams, deserialization is all about converting bits and bytes into object. Converting bits and bytes into object. What is there, guys? Converting bits and bytes into object. The web service API is nothing but developing provider application as distributed application, having services to consume. Whereas language or technology API is nothing but what? Library acting as what? Base for developing software application. Like this, some differences are there or not there, guys? Context to context, its meaning is changing or not there? Context to context, definitely its meaning is changing. What do you say, guys? Okay, now I think now you understood what is RESTful web service, guys. Same as MVC controller. Only the thing is methods are called endpoint. They are identified with what? URL, request path, mode, and parameter. And they don't involve any view resolver, view component for processing the result. They directly send output to what? Consumer application through dispatcher servlet. Right? It's happening because of response body annotation that is there in REST controller annotation or not. It's because of that particular facility, right, guys? Yeah. Let's get into ChatGPT kind of thing. What is the difference between SOAP based web services and what? RESTful web services? SOAP based web services and what? RESTful web services. Yeah, what is the protocol? SOAP follows RESTful architecture representative statement. Message format, always XML. JSON, XML, plain text, HTML, JSON is most common. Okay, transparent protocol, HTTP, standards, highly standardized. Okay, double security, automatic transaction, lightweight. What is there? Fewer format standard, relies on HTTP convention. Complexity, more complex, requires a WSDL file to describe the service. Simple, open, often document use open API, Swagger, no need of WSDL. Using open API and this one, getting documentation is easy, guys. Stateful or stateless. Stateless, each request from client must contain necessary information. Performance, slower due to XML parsing overhead and envelope structure. XML is also having again structure now, boss. Faster, especially with the JSON, less overhead. Security, built-in standards for security, suitable for enterprise application. Relies on transport layer security and custom implementation for extra security. Right, basically depend upon HTTP, guys. Best use cases, banking, payment gateways, other one. Web mobile application, public API, microservice, where speed and flexibility is important. Example, SOAP message looks like this, open closing. And here, JSON content is looking like this. Okay. SOAP, strict, standard, secure, but slower. REST, rapid, relax, resource oriented. Rapid, relax, and what? Resource oriented. We got nice differences between both, na boss? Category wise. Actually, our summary is also almost similar, right? Okay, but more points are there. We covered in summary also all these points, but some extra orientation. Okay. Yeah. What is the difference between what is the difference between what is the difference between tell me SOAP based web services and what RESTful web services? SOAP based web services and what RESTful webs. Here we are having them or not there. Say paste. Are we getting it, guys? Come on, everyone. SOAP based web services and what this one. Yeah, we are ready with this. We are ready with. Okay. Yeah. What is the difference between, come on. What is the difference between Spring Boot, MVC application and Spring Boot REST? Spring Boot REST application. I would like to know difference between web application and what? RESTful web service. Okay, I can sit and write, but who wastes the time nowadays, right? Yeah, difference between. Okay, what is there, guys? MVC, Spring Boot MVC application. Difference between Spring Boot MVC application and Spring Boot REST application. Have a look, guys. Primary purpose to build server-side rendered web application. REST APIs that return data in the form of what? Clients. Controller type, @controller. Controller type, @REST controller. Response type, generally returns a view plus model data. Okay. Returns what? Raw data, JSON, XML. It actually returns what? View plus model data. Model at view layer. Uses template engine, theme leaf, JSP, free marker for rendering what? HTML. No view layer. Data is sent directly to what? Client. Client type. Web browser expecting HTML pages. Client can be mobile application, front end, other backend services. It can be anything or not there. It can be anything or not there, guys. Example here what? @controller, public class home controller. Here what is there? Java controller having endpoints methods are not there. Having endpoints methods are not there, guys. Come on. Okay. This is about what? This. Key differences in one line. Spring Boot MVC. Generate HTML for browser. This one. Return JSON XML for what? Client. Are you getting my point there, guys? We got the basic differences over there or not there? Actually, Java. Okay, we'll take up to client only, boss. What is there? Once again, look at the differences nicely, guys. Yeah. Primary purpose to develop web applications. These are what? To develop REST API, distributed applications, right? Okay. REST APIs, nothing but distributed application. REST APIs are always distributed applications are not there. Next, controller type. What is there? We are going to use @ controller here or not there? Here what? REST controller. Response type. Okay, typically returns view plus model data, model attributes, guys. Generally string, model and view, this kind of return types, na boss. What it returns? Raw XML JSON data. View layer uses template engine, theme leaf, JSP, this one for rendering what? HTML. No view layer, output directly sent or not there. Output is what? Directly sent. Client type, just browser. And client what? Mobile application, front-end application, other backend service, desktop application, IoT application, different types of front ends are possible or not there, guys. Different types of front end is possible or not there, guys. Example class, example code, public class, my controller. This is my @ controller. What is there? Public class, my REST API. It's the REST controller or not there. Technology is required. Technology is required to develop these applications. Servlet JSP. Yeah, here what is required, guys? JAX WS, JAX RS. Frameworks required. Frameworks required to develop these applications. Tell me. Spring MVC, Spring Boot MVC. What is next? JSF. What is there? And exit. Yeah, tell me next one. Frameworks required to develop these applications. Yeah, tell me next one. Spring REST, Spring Boot REST, RESTlet. Yeah, tell me next one. REST Easy and etc. Like this, we have multiple options over here are not there. I think no confusion, guys, towards these concepts, guys. I got clear-cut differences are not there. Here I am writing technology is required. Tell me what are the technologies that are required, guys? What is there? Technology is required. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, tell me what are the technologies required, guys? I want reply from you people, guys. Come on, everyone. Technology is required. JAX double S. JAX RS. Frameworks required. Yeah, tell me. Apache Axis. Apache CFX. Other side, what is there? Apache Spring REST. Spring Boot REST. REST-EZ. Dot dot. All these are the frameworks that are there or not there. So this is about the whole mechanism, guys. Come on. Right. Let me upload the document. Yeah. I think you got the clarity what is RESTful web service is all about. Extension of MVC controller class. But number one, same architecture. Number one, client can be any client. Number one. Number two, data will be exchanged in the form of XML or JSON. Number three, all business methods are called endpoint. Every endpoint is identified in four detail. Base URL. Come on. Base URL. Base URL, request path, request mode, and what? What's the architecture of RESTful web service? Client server architecture with what? Front controller pattern. What pattern, guys? Client server architecture with what? Front controller pattern. Super. 7 a.m. Spring Boot MS. That's good. Done, guys. Where is this? SBBMS 730. No.